Well, they say behind every great man is a great woman. That's why our next guest believes that a grandmother plays an important role in fatherhood as well.
That's right. Lisa Nkonoki is the owner of Live Your Dreams and joins us now here today on CT Style. Now, Father's Day is coming up, and you have a few celebrity dads that you want to shout out.
I want to shout out our president, President Barack Obama, great dad. We have our vice president, Joseph Biden. You have Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. I mean, you have Ryan Briscoe. You have all these fathers who are...
Why 50 Cent, though?
Ryan just talked to 50 Cent.
Yeah.
That's going to be my new neighbor.
I had him thumb wrestle this other guy.
Did you?
Yeah.
Thumb wrestle? Okay.
You want to thumb wrestle? Or?
Yeah, come on, let's go.
No. We'll save that for after the segment.
No, what it is that so often I think dads are misunderstood. And sometimes we have these expectations of dads that they might not even have or understand that we have as women of them. And I think what we have to do is shout out and applaud the dads who are really hanging in there. They're doing the work. And they're also in there with their kids. They're going to the activities. They're taking them different places. I know that's one of the things that I think women always think, wow, that's a great dad. But again, we have to meet dads where they're at. We can't just say what we think is a good dad. I think anytime a dad shows up, anytime a dad is, you know, very, very, very committed to their kids, but they might just be committed in a different way than we're used to. And I think we have to applaud and shout them up and uplift them, not just on Father's Day, but every day.
But isn't it kind of their responsibility as well? I mean,
it's their responsibility, but again, we look at things very traditional. We look at dads, and sometimes dads feel very traditional. It depends on how your father fathered you, whether you're a girl or a boy, or if you didn't have a father. You're kind of going through osmosis. You're kind of leading by what example, what you know, what you know. So I think, again, we can't be so judgmental as to what we think they need to do. We need to look at what they're doing and realize as long as that kid has a smile on their face,
that's what's important, right?
That's what's important. So we shouldn't try and put more of what our expectations are. Sometimes kids are just happy to show up, and then sometimes you have like a teenage girl or a teenage guy that might say, I don't want dad to show up. So we have to then encourage them and say, you know what? It took two great people to make a great kid, and that's what we're all about. And that other person is very key to this whole factor here.
How about affecting versus infecting in the
Well,
family
again,
setting?
if we say negative things about dad or, you know, we wish your dad did this, you know, what is he doing? Let's talk about what he's done. Let's talk about what great qualities you have for your dad. You might have gotten your eyes from your dad or your smile. Find something positive that you can pick out that you know is indicative of that father.
Or you might be on a billboard next to your dad, who's also on a billboard.
Exactly.
Very odd.
That might be a very good example. But again, I think too often we just look at dads in a very traditional way, and we need to think out of the box. You know, when you look at like the NBA Finals, where you have a lot of dads who were previously in the NBA coming back to support their kids, or in the case of you, you're following in the family business where you're doing things. I mean, that's still very important in terms of legacy, in terms of tradition. And again, we have to kind of look at that and try and uplift what is it what mark are we trying to make, and what good can we find from those who've come before us or who are still with us. And give a dad a hug. You know, dads need hugs too.
Isn't that true?
You know,
moms
so often we talk about moms. I mean, Mother's Day comes in the middle of, we focus on that. Dad's Day comes in between, and when we get out of school, it's too hot. When's summer going to be? When's summer vacation? When's graduation? You know, and the NBA Finals. So again, we have to just...
Of course, you got to throw that in there, which was also on ABC.
Yeah, that's it. So we just have to kind of remember that we need to designate a day for dads, and not just this Sunday at Father's Day, at all times a year. Because I don't think we would wait forever to just say, hey, moms are only special one time a year. So I think we have to kind of equality, make some parity here for fathers.
And what about tracing back a family tree? I'm sure that's relevant when it comes to fathers.
It is. I mean, even when you do your DNA, one of the things when you do your DNA swab, people will say, okay, well, what's your family tree? What's your legacy? But what they'll say is your father kind of dictates a good piece of your genes, your genome, when they're looking at things. So if you have boys in the family line, sometimes you can get more information for that. I think what's really important about fathers, again, is the fact when you're doing your family legacy, you have that name that you can carry on, hopefully, or you're trying to carry on that name one way or another so that you can trace directly back. Depends on culturally where you're at. Sometimes in the African American or Native American community, it was harder to find because names were changed. So I think it's, again, very interesting and very important to go back and see how you're related, how you're connected, and who knows, you could be related to a king way back.
You never know.
In some generation,
cool.
You never know.
So your grandson had a pretty cool project he was working on.
My grandson, Cameron, who is here, actually, you know, it's in honor of Stuart Scott, who we lost earlier this year from ESPN. But one of the great things was that he didn't know years ago who Stuart Scott was. As a little boy going to Renbrook School, he would see Stuart Scott there to pick up his daughter, Taylor. And he'd be inside of the school, maybe sitting on the stairs after school waiting. And that was always interesting to my grandson, that someone was in there. Because, I mean, obviously there's lots of involved parents, but sometimes we're all busy, so we're waiting in the car or standing outside talking to other parents. But he would be sitting right there or at the different activities. And as we know now, which, again, my grandson didn't know at that time who he was. He didn't know he was on ESPN. And now he's a diehard basketball fan, so he knows who he is.
That's great.
But again, what was important was that even when he accepted his ESPY award, it was about his kids. It was about his life and giving his kids those wings to fly.
His
and
legacy.
His legacy.
Yeah.
So my grandson actually said to me that he was really, you know, affected by him as a father, more so than what he did on ESPN, which was phenomenal, which he did in broadcasting. Sure. But I thought it was really cool that was something that Cameron picked out. And he said he wanted to forego any birthday presents and have donations given to him on behalf of Stuart Scott with the Jimmy V Foundation, or to also do other things as a dad, to try and empower other dads to be more like Stuart Scott. And to give hugs, which is something that his daughters will be missing this year from him. But if we could give not just our own kids hugs, but other kids who might not have their dad. You know, if we can stand in there and cheer on other kids, I think that's so important, and I think that's something in memory of Stuart Scott that would be very important to this weekend, to give his daughters love and hugs in one way or another by doing something in his honor, by helping other children. And I think that's something that I was very, very proud that Cameron brought up, and I hope that that other kids want to do something to uplift a father or another positive male.
And Cameron's a young kid to realize.
Cameron is 10, and again, I thought I was floored.
Impressive.
I was pretty impressed when he said he'd forego birthday gifts. Wow, but I thought it was more impressive that what he thought, he was more
of a father
profoundly impacted by Stuart Scott and what he did as a father, as a man. And I thought that probably epitomizes what you want, what any father would really want.
Absolutely. Lisa, where can we get a hold of you, find more info?
LisaNkonoki.com.
Very nice. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
Lisa.
All right, and speaking